The billionaire slammed the plate down. The kitchen went silent. Everyone thought he was about to fire her. She was just a poor fill-in cook, shaking, apologizing. But when he took one bite, his anger vanished. Because that taste wasn't just food. It was a memory he never wanted back. A plate slammed against the stainless steel counter. The sound cracked through the kitchen and killed the noise instantly. Flames hissed. A knife slipped from someone's grip and clattered to the floor. Jason Whitmore stood over the plate, eyes fixed on the sauce slowly spreading across the metal. "This dish is wrong," he said. Calm, controlled, dangerous. "Who changed it?" No one answered. He lifted the fork again, tasted it, then set it down with precision. Too much precision. "I've been eating here for months," he said. "It has never tasted like this." He looked up slowly. "Where is the chef?" The head chef hurried forward, forcing a smile. "Sir, please, let us fix it." Jason didn't look at him. "Bring me the person who cooked this." A young woman stepped out from the back line. Flour dusted her fingers. Her shoulders were tense, as if bracing for impact. She tried to still her left hand, it shook anyway. "I did," she said. "I cooked it." Jason turned fully toward her now. He studied her face, then the dish again. His jaw tightened. "You changed my mother's dish," he said. The words hung in the air, her eyes widened. "Your mother's... what?" For a split second something crossed Jason's face. Shock, regret, memory. He caught himself. "My order," he corrected sharply. "You changed my order. Why?" She swallowed. "I followed the recipe. I only adjusted the spice blend. The flavor needed warmth." The head chef shot her a warning look, but Jason didn't blink. "You improvised," he said. "On a dish you didn't create?" She lifted her chin, barely. "Customers liked it." That was when Jason reached into his pocket and placed a small black card on the counter. The room shifted instantly. The owner's card. A few cooks stiffened. Someone inhaled sharply. The head chef stepped back. Jason didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Make it again," he said. "The way you made it today." Her breath caught. "Right now?" "Yes," he said. "Right now." She turned back to the stove. Her movements were quick but careful. Jason watched closely. Not the food. Her hands. They trembled as she reached for the pan. Something in his expression flickered. Confusion. Recognition. He looked away briefly, as if grounding himself, then back again. She finished and stepped aside. Jason approached the plate slowly. He tasted it. His grip tightened around the fork. His shoulders stiffened. "That's it," he said quietly. "That's the flavor." She looked at him, confused. "I don't understand." "You will cook for me," he said. Her head snapped up. "What?" "1 month," he continued. "Private meals, I'll pay you." "I can't," she said quickly. "I was only filling in for a friend." "You can," he replied. "And you will." Her voice trembled despite her effort. "Why does this matter so much to you? It's just food." Jason stared at her for a long moment. "No," he said. "It isn't." He turned and walked out, leaving the kitchen frozen behind him. Candace Reed stood there, heart racing, staring at the dish that had just unraveled something she didn't understand. Before we continue, welcome to Life Tale Stories, where every emotion finds a home. If you love stories that touch your heart, make sure to subscribe and stay a while. She didn't know why his voice had changed when he tasted her food. She didn't know why he looked at her hands the way he did. And she didn't know that this moment had just rewritten the course of her life. Jason Whitmore didn't look back as he left the restaurant. He crossed the dining floor, ignoring the stares, the whispers, the sudden shift in atmosphere. Outside, he stopped only after the door shut behind him. His chest rose once. Hard. Then he straightened and walked to his car. Inside the kitchen, the silence lingered. The head chef exhaled sharply. What did you do? Candace Reed shook her head. I don't know. You don't touch recipes like that, he snapped. Especially not here. She wiped her hands on her apron, heart still racing. I followed the base. I just adjusted the balance. That man owns half this block, the chef said. You don't improvise for people like him? She said nothing. Her left hand trembled again. She curled it into a fist. An hour later, the manager pulled her aside. He asked for your number, the manager said carefully. Her stomach dropped. Why? He didn't say. Just told me to give it to him. Candace hesitated. Every instinct told her to walk away, to disappear before whatever that was came looking for her. Her phone buzzed before she could decide. Unknown number. She stared at the screen, then answered. Yes? Candace Reed, Jason said. His voice was calmer now, controlled again. You agreed to remake the dish. You did it well. I was just doing my job, she replied. No, he said. You weren't. There was a pause. She waited for him to explain. He didn't. I want you to cook for me, he said. At my home. Her grip tightened on the phone. I already said I can't. You haven't heard the terms? I don't need to, she replied. I'm not a private chef. 1 month, Jason said. That's all. Why? She asked. The word came out sharper than she intended. Why me? Another pause, longer this time. Because I need to know something, he said. And you're the only person who can answer it. Her heart beat faster. I don't understand. You don't have to, he said. You just have to cook. Silence stretched between them. And if I say no? She asked. You walk away, Jason replied. And I keep wondering for the rest of my life. That landed heavier than she expected. I'll pay you, he added. Well? How well? She asked quietly. He named the amount. Her breath caught. She stopped walking. That's not normal, she said. No, Jason agreed. It isn't. She looked around the empty street. The restaurant lights glowed behind her, warm and familiar. Safe. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her aunt. Did you get the medicine? They raised the price again. Candace closed her eyes. I need time, she said. You have tonight, Jason replied. I'll wait. The line went dead. She stood there for a long moment before heading home. The house was loud when she walked in. Laughter. Music. The smell of food. Someone arguing over spices. Her aunt stood at the counter sorting through envelopes, bills, notices. A medical statement folded too many times. Candace slipped the cash she had earned that day onto the counter. It wasn't enough. It never was. Later, alone in her room, she sat on the edge of the bed and stared at her left hand. The scar caught the light. Her mind pulled her back without permission. Heat. Panic. A pan slipping. Fire climbing too fast. Her aunt screaming her name. Candace grabbing metal without thinking. Then another memory. A kitchen. Not this one. A different one. A man in a white coat yelling. You're careless. You'll hurt someone one day. You don't belong here. Her hand shook now, just like it had then. Her phone buzzed again. Jason Whitmore. I'm still waiting. She looked around her small room. The peeling paint. The stack of overdue bills. The weight of everyone depending on her. Then she typed, I'll do it. Across the city, Jason stood alone in his dark kitchen. One chair. One place set. No food. His phone lit up. He read the message once. Then again. For the first time that night, his shoulders dropped. He told himself it was about the dish. He told himself it was about curiosity. He didn't admit the truth. Not yet. Jason Whitmore's house did not feel like a home. Candace noticed it the moment she stepped inside. Everything was clean. Perfect. Too quiet. No shoes by the door. No pictures on the walls. No sound except her own footsteps. Jason walked ahead of her without small talk. The kitchen is fully stocked, he said. Use whatever you need. She followed him in. Stainless steel. Marble counters. Professional-grade appliances. It was the kind of kitchen she once dreamed of working in. Now it made her chest tighten. Jason stopped near the doorway. "I'll be in my office." She looked at him. "What do you want me to cook?" He hesitated, then said, "Whatever you think I need." That stopped her. "I don't know you," she replied. "That's the point," he said, then turned and left. The door closed softly behind him. Candace stood alone in the massive kitchen. She exhaled slowly and rolled her shoulders back. This wasn't a restaurant. No audience. No head chef watching. Still, her hand shook as she reached for a knife. She noticed it immediately and clenched her fingers tighter. Focus. She moved with intention, chopped, stirred, adjusted. Her body remembered what her mind tried to forget. The knife slipped once, just once. She caught it before it hit the floor. Her breath hitched. She paused, pressed her palm against the counter and waited until the tremor eased. Then she continued. Jason watched from the hallway without her noticing. He hadn't planned to. He just found himself there, watching her movements. The way she leaned slightly to protect her left side. The way she slowed when heat flared too high. Something about it pulled at him. She plated the dish and stepped back, unsure. When Jason sat down, he didn't invite her to join him. One plate, one chair, a long table with empty space on either side. She stayed near the counter. He lifted the fork and took a bite. The reaction was immediate. His shoulders stiffened, his jaw tightened, his eyes lost focus. A memory surged without warning. Warm light. A small kitchen. A woman humming softly as she stirred a pot. The sound of laughter. Then the sterile beep of hospital machines. Silence. A hand going still. Jason set the fork down. "Thank you," he said. His voice was tight. "That's all for today." He stood up so quickly the chair scraped the floor. She flinched. "Was it wrong?" "No," he replied without turning back. "It wasn't." He walked out, leaving the dish half-eaten. Candace stared at the table. Confusion crept in, followed by something worse, doubt. She packed up quietly and left. That night, Jason stood alone in his kitchen long after she was gone. The plate sat untouched on the counter. He didn't throw it away. He didn't cover it either. He just stood there, staring at it, jaw clenched. Elsewhere, Candace lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. She replayed the moment again and again. His reaction, his sudden exit, the way his voice changed. Her phone buzzed. Jason Whitmore. Same time tomorrow. She hesitated before replying. Yes. And later that night, neither of them slept really well. The second day felt heavier than the first. Candace arrived early. Jason was already awake, seated at the table with his laptop open, though he wasn't working. He barely looked up when she entered. "Good morning," she said. "Morning," he replied, distant. She moved into the kitchen and began cooking. Her hand shook less today, but she stayed cautious. She chose a different dish. Lighter, softer, something that didn't carry too much memory. Jason closed his laptop and sat down. One plate, one chair, the rest of the table empty. He tasted the food. The same reaction. A brief stillness. A tightening in his shoulders. A look she couldn't read. Then he stood. "Thank you," he said. "You can go." She stared at him. "Did I do something wrong?" "No." "Then why do you keep leaving like that?" He stopped walking. "Because staying would make it harder," he said, then continued out of the room. She stood frozen, the words echoing louder than she wanted them to. That night, she went home to noise and warmth. Her aunt laughed in the kitchen. Someone argued over burnt rice. The television played too loudly. Candace handed her aunt the cash from the day. Her aunt frowned. "This is a lot." "It's temporary," Candace said. Her aunt studied her face. "Temporary jobs don't usually look like this." Candace didn't answer. Later, she overheard a quiet phone call. A raised voice. The words interest rate and deadline slipped through the hallway. Her chest tightened. The third day, she cooked again. Another variation, another careful balance. Jason tasted it. This time, he didn't stand immediately. He swallowed slowly, eyes fixed on the plate. "You're doing this on purpose," he said. She stiffened. "Doing what?" "Changing small things," he replied, testing me. "I'm cooking," she said. "That's all." He looked up at her. Really looked this time. "You know what you're doing," he said quietly. She met his gaze. "So do you." Silence stretched between them. He reached into his jacket and placed an envelope on the table. "Your pay for the week." She picked it up and opened it. Her hands started to shake. "This is too much," she said. "I can't accept this." "You will," Jason replied. "It's what you're worth." Her throat tightened. No one had ever said that to her without expecting something back. She left shortly after, her thoughts loud and tangled. At home, the envelope changed everything. Her aunt stared at the money in disbelief. "What kind of job pays like this?" "A strange one," Chantis said. The relief didn't last. The next morning, a letter lay on the counter. The interest rate had increased again. A red stamp marked the bottom. Final notice. Chantis felt the room tilt slightly. Her phone buzzed. Jason Whitmore. "Same time tomorrow?" She stared at the screen, then at the letter, then at her scarred hand. "Yes," she typed. Across the city, Jason sat alone at his table, staring at his phone after sending the message. The plate from the first day still sat untouched in the refrigerator. He hadn't thrown it away. He couldn't. Jason Whitmore did not expect his stepmother to walk in unannounced, but she did. Chantis was plating lunch when the front door opened. Sharp heels, controlled steps. A presence that shifted the air before a word was spoken. Jason looked up instantly. "Angela," he said. No warmth. No surprise. Angela Whitmore smiled thinly as she surveyed the room. Her gaze passed over Chantis, the food, the kitchen, as if everything were slightly beneath her. "So this is what you've been doing," she said. "Playing house." Chantis stiffened but said nothing. Angela picked up a fork and nudged the food on Jason's plate. "This again? Comfort food?" She looked back at him. "Your father would be embarrassed." Jason's jaw tightened. "Why are you here?" She reached into her bag and placed a folder on the table. Thick. Official. "You're bleeding money," she said calmly. "The mid-tier locations are underperforming. Especially Willow." Chantis's head lifted slightly at the name. Angela continued. "Sign them over to my son, clean exit, or I force a sale." Jason stood slowly. "You've been trying this for 2 years." "And now you're vulnerable," she replied. "Sentimental. Distracted." Her eyes flicked to Chantis. "Hiring help who cooks like this doesn't help your image." Chantis felt heat crawl up her neck, but she stayed silent. Jason's voice dropped. "Get out." Angela smiled again. "You have 2 weeks." She turned and left as smoothly as she arrived. The silence that followed was heavy. Jason didn't move. Chantis watched him carefully. His shoulders were tense, his hands clenched at his sides. He looked smaller somehow, stripped of the authority he wore so easily outside. "I should go," she said quietly. "No," he replied. Too quickly. She paused. Jason turned away and walked toward his office. She followed without thinking. Inside, the room was chaos. Papers scattered across the desk, legal notices, financial statements. One document lay open. Willow Care Facility Foreclosure Notice. Chantis stopped breathing for a moment. "Willow," she said slowly. "Like Willow Care Home?" Jason let out a bitter laugh. "Of course you'd recognize it." He dragged a hand down his face. "My mother stayed there. It was the last place she smiled." He picked up a document, then dropped it again. "My father replaced her before she was even gone," he said. "His wife made sure I barely saw her." "That dish you keep cooking?" His voice tightened. It was the last thing she made for me. Candace felt her chest ache. That's why you reacted the way you did, she said softly. Jason exhaled sharply. That's why I lied. He turned to face her fully. I'm sorry. The word landed heavy. Rare. She studied him for a long moment. Then she held up her left hand. The scar was jagged, ugly, honest. I stopped cooking because of this, she said. A kitchen fire. I grabbed the pan. My aunt got hurt. A chef I trusted said I didn't belong anywhere near heat again. Jason stared at her hand. I never meant to make you relive anything, he said. You didn't, she replied. You reminded me. Silence settled between them. Different now. Shared. After a moment, she spoke again. You shouldn't eat alone all the time. He looked at her, surprised. My family is having lunch tomorrow, she said. It's loud. Messy. Too much food. Too many opinions. A pause. You should come. Jason hesitated. Everything in him resisted the idea. Then he nodded once. Okay. Neither of them knew what that invitation would unleash. Jason Whitmore sat in his car longer than he meant to. The street was narrow. Cars lined both sides. Laughter spilled from an open window 2 houses down. Music thumped somewhere behind him. It wasn't the kind of place he ever visited. He checked the address again, then stepped out. The front door was open. Inside, noise rushed him all at once. Voices talking over each other, pots clanging, someone laughing too loudly. A child ran past him, nearly bumping into his leg. Jason stopped just inside the doorway, unsure where to put himself. Candice saw him and froze for half a second. Then she smiled, relieved. You came. I said I would, he replied. An older woman appeared beside her and looked him up and down slowly. Not hostile. Assessing. This him? She asked. Yes, Auntie. The woman nodded once. Sit. You look like you don't eat enough. Jason didn't argue. He was guided to the table before he could protest. Plates appeared in front of him. Food piled high. Someone pressed a drink into his hand. He took a bite. Then another. The noise didn't fade, but it softened. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't listening for silence. Candace watched him carefully. The way his shoulders lowered. The way his breathing slowed. You okay? She asked quietly. He nodded. I forgot what this felt like. What? Eating without thinking, he said. She smiled faintly as they continued eating. Before we continue, tell us where you are watching from? We love seeing our Lifetail family from around the world. The knock came without warning. Not loud, not rushed, just firm. Conversation faltered. Candace's aunt stiffened. Her smile vanished. I'll get it, she said quickly. Jason stood instinctively. Candace caught his sleeve. Stay, she whispered. The door opened. 2 men stepped inside without asking. Calm, confident, too comfortable in a space that wasn't theirs. One of them scanned the room slowly, the food, the people. Jason. Well, look at this, he said. Family dinner. The other man's eyes stayed on Jason. Who's this? Jason didn't answer. He didn't move. Candace's aunt forced a smile. We were just about to eat. That's nice, the first man replied. We won't stay long. He turned to Candace's aunt. Interest went up. Her hands trembled. You said we had time. You had time, he said. Time passed. He glanced at Jason again. You get a new protector? Jason met his gaze evenly. Not afraid. Not aggressive. Just present. I'm a guest, Jason said. The man smiled. Funny. Guests don't usually stand like that. The other man stepped closer. Det doesn't care who's visiting. Candace felt the room tighten around her chest. How much now? Her aunt asked quietly. The man named a number. Higher than before. Next time, he added, it doubles again. Jason's jaw tightened. He said nothing. The man looked at him once more. Enjoy the food. We'll be back. They left as calmly as they arrived. The door closed. No one spoke. Candice's aunt sat down slowly, hands shaking. Jason exhaled, the sound tight in his chest. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't know. Candice didn't look at him. Now you do. The warmth from earlier was gone, replaced by something heavier, something that would not disappear overnight. Jason stayed only a few minutes longer, long enough to thank them for the meal, long enough to feel the weight of what he had walked into. As he drove away, his grip on the steering wheel tightened. This was not something money could erase quickly. And for the first time, he understood that stepping into Candice's world meant consequences he could not control. Jason Whitmore arrived the next morning expecting tension. Instead, he walked into distance. Candice was already in the kitchen when he entered. She acknowledged him with a nod, nothing more. No greeting, no edge. Just quiet. He paused near the doorway. Morning. Morning, she replied, eyes still on the cutting board. She worked steadily. No shaking, no hesitation. That alone told him something had shifted. Jason sat at the table, one chair, one place setting. The silence stretched longer than it had before. I shouldn't have stayed quiet last night, he said carefully. I didn't know what to do. She continued chopping. There wasn't anything to do. That doesn't mean I felt comfortable, he replied. She stopped. Not to argue, just to breathe. I didn't invite you to fix anything, she said calmly. I invited you to eat. I know. Last night wasn't about debt, she continued. It was about my family, and that's not something I share easily. Jason nodded once. I understand. She glanced at him then. Really looked. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't posturing. Just listening. I don't regret you coming, she added. But I need you to understand something. He waited. That world you saw last night, she said, isn't a problem waiting for a solution. It's my life. I won't interfere, Jason said immediately. I know, she replied. I just needed to say it out loud. She plated the food and set it down in front of him. No flourish, no tension, just care. Jason tasted it. His reaction was quieter this time, slower. He finished the bite before speaking. It's good, he said. She nodded and stepped back. After a moment, he spoke again. If you want space, I'll respect that. She considered him. Not space, boundaries. He accepted that without protest. She packed up earlier than usual. At the door, she hesitated. I didn't mean to bring you into something heavy, she said. I forget sometimes that not everyone grew up like this. Jason met her gaze. I didn't grow up with warmth. She absorbed that. I'll see you tomorrow, she said. Yes, he replied. That night, Jason stood in his kitchen alone. The plate in front of him was empty this time. He washed it himself. Across the city, Candice lay awake longer than she wanted to admit. She wasn't angry, she was careful, and that scared her more. Jason Whitmore did not tell Candice what he was doing. That was the first mistake. He spent the morning on the phone, not with lawyers, but with people who handled problems quietly. Names weren't mentioned. Questions were asked carefully. By noon, he had an address. By evening, he had answers. The men from the night before ran a small operation. Local, aggressive, predictable. They had pushed the debt far past what it was worth. They relied on fear, not contracts. Jason sat in his car across the street from the address, engine running. He didn't go inside. He didn't need to. He made one call. I don't want threats, he said. I want time. There was laughter on the other end. Jason listened. Let it play out. Then he named the property, the dates, the pattern, the risk. The laughter stopped. He didn't threaten. He didn't negotiate. He warned. When he ended the call, his hands were steady. His chest was not. That night, Candice noticed the change before anyone said a word. Her aunt moved slower than usual, too careful, too quiet. They came by today, her aunt said finally. Didn't come inside. Candice froze. What did they say? They said we had time now, her aunt replied, confused. Said someone important asked questions. The room tilted. Candice knew immediately. She didn't call Jason. She didn't text him. She waited until the next morning. When she arrived at his house, he knew before she spoke. You talked to them, she said. Jason didn't deny it. I asked for time. You didn't ask me, she replied. I didn't think you'd want to be involved. That wasn't your choice to make. He stayed calm. They were escalating. So you stepped in, she said. Again. I didn't pay them. That's not the point. She paced once, then stopped. Her voice stayed level, but something sharp moved underneath it. They came to my house, she said. Do you know what that does to people like us? It tells them we're being watched. It makes things unpredictable. Jason frowned. They backed off. For now, she replied. Until they decide you're the problem. Silence settled between them. I told you I needed boundaries, she said. Not distance, boundaries. I didn't cross them to control you, Jason said. I crossed them because I couldn't stand doing nothing. She looked at him then. Really looked. That's the difference between us, she said. You see danger and reach for power. I see danger and calculate survival. He absorbed that. Slowly. I didn't mean to make it worse, he said. But you did, she replied. She picked up her bag. I need a few days. Jason nodded. No argument, no defense. I'll be here, he said. I know, she replied. That's not the same thing. She left. Jason stood alone in the kitchen long after. The door closed. For the first time, his money hadn't solved anything. And for the first time, Candice wasn't sure if letting him closer was helping or hurting. The line between protection and possession had been crossed. Neither of them knew yet what it would cost to redraw it. 3 days passed without a word between them. Candice stayed home. She cooked for her family. She avoided thinking about stainless steel kitchens and silent dining tables. She focused on what she could control. Jason respected the silence. Outwardly, behind closed doors, he worked. Not around the debt, through it. He stood in an empty restaurant space one evening, lights dimmed, chairs stacked. The place smelled like dust and old oil. The sign outside still bore the name of a mid-tier brand that had lost its identity years ago. This was Willow's sister location, one of the properties his stepmother wanted gone. Jason walked the floor slowly, measured the space with his eyes, not as an owner, as someone imagining possibility. The next morning, Candice's phone rang. She almost ignored it. Jason's name stayed on the screen longer than she expected. Talk, she said finally. Meet me, he replied. Neutral ground. She hesitated. About what? About cooking, he said. Not debt. That mattered. She agreed. The restaurant was quiet when she arrived. Sunlight filtered through the windows. Dust danced in the air. Jason stood near the counter, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired. Not desperate, just deliberate. I won't talk to them again, he said before she could speak. Not without you. She watched him closely. That's not why I'm here. I know, he replied. I want to show you something. He walked her through the space. This place is failing, he said. Not because the food is bad, because it doesn't mean anything. She looked around. Meaning doesn't pay rent. No, he agreed, but it brings people in. He stopped in the middle of the room. I'm losing this location, he said. My stepmother wants it sold. I have 1 week to prove it can work. Her chest tightened. That's not much time. I know. He met her gaze. I don't want to save it alone. She crossed her arms. You said this was about cooking. It is, he replied. This time, fully. He reached into a folder and slid documents across the counter. Culinary program brochures, certification timelines, a training plan. I want to turn this place into something honest, he said. Comfort food, soul food, food that feels like home. She didn't speak. I want you to lead the kitchen, he added. After training, properly, on your terms. Her breath caught despite herself. I don't have the credentials, she said automatically. You will, Jason replied, and I'll pay for them. Not as leverage, as investment. She studied the papers. Her hands didn't shake. And if it fails? She asked. Then it fails, he said. But it fails trying to be real. Silence stretched. You don't get to offer me dreams like this, she said quietly, not without understanding the weight. I do understand, he replied, because this isn't just your risk. It's mine. She looked at him again, longer this time. What about Willow? She asked. The care home. His jaw tightened. If this works, the property stays. If it doesn't, it's gone. The stakes settled between them. Clear. Unavoidable. She exhaled slowly. I need time. You don't have it, he said gently. Neither of us does. She closed her eyes briefly, thought of her scar, her mother, the kitchen fire, the years she stopped trying. Then she opened them. One condition, she said. Name it. No moves without me, she replied. No calls, no power plays. If we do this, we do it together. Jason nodded immediately. Agreed. She straightened. Then we start small. He raised an eyebrow. A pop-up, she said. One night, one menu. We see if people come. Jason considered it, then smiled faintly. That might just work. She didn't smile back yet, but she didn't walk away either. The clock was ticking, and for the first time, they were on the same side of it. Jason Whitmore arrived at the restaurant before sunset. The place looked different tonight. Not polished, not perfect. Alive. Chairs filled the room instead of being stacked. Warm light replaced the harsh overhead bulbs. The smell of food drifted out the open door and into the street. People were already lining up. Jason stood near the entrance watching quietly. He checked the list in his hand, then checked it again even though he already knew the names. His jaw tightened every time someone new stepped inside. He had opened restaurants before. Big ones, clean ones, profitable ones. None of them made his pulse do this. Inside the kitchen, Candace moved with purpose. No shaking, no second-guessing. Her scarred hand rested steady against the counter as she plated each dish with care. She wasn't performing. She was remembering. First table's ready, someone called. She nodded. Send it. The first plates went out. Jason watched from a distance as the guests took their first bites. One man leaned back in his chair slowly, eyes closing. A woman laughed under her breath, surprised by her own reaction. Another guest wiped at his face quickly and looked away. I haven't tasted this since my mother stopped cooking, he said softly to no one in particular. The words hit Candace harder than she expected. She kept moving. The room filled. Conversations lowered. Plates emptied. Jason felt something loosen in his chest. Not relief. Validation. Halfway through the night, the door opened again. Angela Whitmore walked in. She didn't announce herself. She didn't need to. Her presence shifted the room just enough for Jason to notice. She took a seat near the back and studied the menu with mild disdain. This is what you're risking everything for, she said when Jason approached. Comfort food. Jason didn't respond. Angela tasted the dish. For a brief moment, her expression softened. Just slightly. Then it hardened again. Sentiment doesn't scale. Before Jason could answer, his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen and stepped outside. Yes, he said. He listened. His grip tightened on the phone. All of them, he repeated. You're sure? A pause. He closed his eyes. Thank you. When he returned inside, Chandis saw his face before he spoke. "They're backing it," he said quietly. "Every investor who tasted tonight." She didn't cheer. She didn't cry. She leaned against the counter and let the air leave her lungs slowly. Around them, the pop-up continued. People eating, talking, remembering. For the first time, the wind didn't feel loud. It felt real. The restaurant emptied slowly. Plates were cleared, chairs stacked again. The noise faded into soft echoes of laughter that still seemed to live in the walls. Chandis wiped down the counter, movements unhurried now. Her body felt light in a way she hadn't felt in years. Not relief, not pride, peace. Jason walked the floor once more, thanking staff, nodding to the last guests as they left. When the door finally closed, the silence that followed felt different from the one he used to live with. This one was full. Chandis reached for her bag, then stopped. Something on the wall caught her eye. An old photograph, slightly faded, framed simply near the back hallway. It hadn't been part of the pop-up decor. It had always been there. She stepped closer. Her breath caught. Jason noticed the stillness and followed her gaze. "That's my mother," Chandis said quietly. Jason moved beside her. His chest tightened. "And that's mine," he replied. They stood shoulder to shoulder, staring at the photo. Two women in aprons, arms linked, smiling in a small kitchen. Not posed, not staged, happy. At the bottom, handwritten in soft ink, "Teaching Angels to Cook Maria and Susan, 2015. Chandis's voice trembled. "My mom used to volunteer at a care home. She said the women there reminded her that food wasn't about skill, it was about memory." Jason swallowed. "My mother stopped cooking when she got sick. Except there. Just once. She told me someone helped her remember how." They looked at each other then. The truth didn't crash in. It settled. Their mothers had found each other in a quiet place at the end of their strength. They had shared food, shared warmth, passed something forward without ever knowing who would receive it. Chandis wiped at her eyes. "That dish you kept asking for. It wasn't just mine." "No," Jason said. "It was theirs." Outside, the night was calm. 6 months later, the sign above the door read, "Maria and Susan's." The restaurant moved with an easy rhythm now. Chandis stood at the center of the kitchen, calm, confident, giving instructions without raising her voice. Her hands were steady. Her scar no longer defined her. Jason greeted guests at the door. Still awkward. Still learning. But lighter. After closing, the tables were pushed together outside. Food passed from hand to hand. Music played low. Laughter filled the air. Chandis's aunt eyed Jason critically. "You're still too skinny." Jason laughed. "I'm trying." Chandis shook her head, smiling despite herself. Jason looked around at the people, the warmth, the life he once believed wasn't meant for him. He didn't feel like an owner anymore. He felt like he belonged. Some people search their whole lives for the taste of home. Sometimes it's passed down quietly, from one kitchen to another, from one heart to the next. The end. If this story moved you, leave a heart in the comments, so we know you stayed with us to the end. Like and subscribe for more Lifetale moments. Your support and presence means much more to us than you think. We're glad to have you here. See you in the next story.